Why did they let us go? Why did they wish us luck?
What's that?
It's a fox hunt.
So what are they hunting?
Hello everybody, welcome back to Screenstars. I'm here today to bring you my review for the 2022 horror thriller Hounded, a film that is directed by Tommy Boulding and it stars Samantha Bond, Malachi Pullar-latchman, James Lance, Hannah Traylan, Nick Moran and James Faulkner. Now, the film follows four youths who essentially, for a living, rob houses. They are given tip-offs by a local antiques dealer of wealthy people whose houses they can rob, and they sell the possessions to him, who he then palms off. So he tips them off to this new job of this country manor out in the countryside. Initially, the leader is hesitant because essentially they've got the money that they want already for his brother's university, but he's talked into it. So they head out to this house, attempt to rob it. They are then captured by the lady of the manor, played by Samantha Bond, who releases them the following day, which they think is a little bit odd, and then it actually turns out that they're not being released at all. They are being hunted by Samantha Bond and her relatives, very much like a fox hunt. They have to then work together to try and survive. Right, what are my thoughts on Hounded? Well, this is another of those films that copies the format of, The Most Dangerous Game, Hard Target, you name it. There's countless films out there in the market that kind of follow this pattern in regards to a film, humans being hunted by humans. It's overdone at this point. Now, this is a UK-based action horror thriller. It's not essentially a horror. It's not essentially action. It's not really a thriller. It's like a little bit of each of these. It doesn't kind of tip its hat very heavily to either of those genres. And there is quite a lot here that is certainly quite entertaining. I like the concept. I thought the setup was good. The concept of these youths being hunted, very much like a fox hunt. Because if you don't know, fox hunting is now banned in the UK. It's quite a barbaric sport that the well-offs, if you like, it's tradition in the UK, a way to kind of get rid of the overpopulation of foxes, so they kind of hunt them down using hounds, and they turn it into like a sport sort of thing. But it's now banned in the UK. It has been banned for a number of years now. So I like the fact that they've kind of twisted it and turned it on its head in a sense of they're no longer hunting foxes. They're now hunting humans, the well-offs, so to speak, the toffs, which is quite an interesting concept. And I do, up to a point, this film, I was really quite invested in it. I think the film does have a number of issues. I mean, first and foremost is you struggle to kind of get behind these four youths, because essentially they're thieves. They rob people's houses for a living. And even though they do kind of justify it because they're trying to get money for his brother's university fees and so on and so forth, and they make an attempt for us to kind of feel some sympathy and empathy for them, and to some degree later on in the film you do a little bit, but early on in the film I'm kind of like, well, I'm on the side of the toffs. Now, in similar films where you're not necessarily behind the people that are doing the robbing. For Don't Breathe, for example, when them kids tried to rob Stephen Lang's house, the blind guy, you're not necessarily on their side. It's only when you learn that Stephen Lang is far more evil and has done far more reprehensible things than they have ever done that you start siding with them. You don't really get that here. These toffs on the horses, Samantha Bond and her immediate family sort of thing, they're quite brutal, and what they're doing is obviously really very wrong, but it's all done with this, English politeness almost. Excuse me, cough still hasn't gone. So they kind of do it with this English politeness that's, you never really feel like they're really evil and reprehensible. They're just kind of toffs that are just doing it for a bit of sport. It doesn't necessarily translate well to the film, if that makes any sense at all. There's other issues with the film as well. There's one point in the film where they're crossing a field, these youths, and it's absolutely packed full of bear traps. I mean, they're everywhere. So one of them, I mean, you've got to kind of look where you're going, otherwise you're going to get a bear trap all over you. And then they notice that the foxhound people are coming. So they charge through this field, which is bad enough anyway. But this fox hunting group charge through the field as well with the dogs and the horses. So my question is, how did they not avoid any? How did they, not get hit or caught in any of those bear traps? Just didn't make an awful lot of sense. And the film kind of, I felt, became really quite predictable when you got to a certain point in the film. And I do think there was things they could have played around with here in regards to like the class system. They hint at it and stuff, but I think they could have gone in heavier on that. There's scenes in the film where these toffs are kind of sat down in between the hunt sort of thing and having sandwiches and sherry on whatever it is they do and being served by their servants. I think it would have been a really cool concept for the servants to turn on them almost, you know what I mean? But no, it never really plays around with it, and it never really feels overly threatening sort of thing. You never really feel like these four youths are absolutely desperate, even though obviously they're being hunted and some of them are getting taken out left, right and centre. But I don't know, I think at points I think there was a missed opportunity here, because I thought the setup was good and the idea was clever. I thought the execution kind of missed the mark a little bit, but there is still a fairly entertaining film here. It's certainly not unwatchable or anything like that. It's got solid performances, it's well filmed, well made, good production values, all that kind of stuff. It's just nothing you haven't really seen before, I suppose. So, yeah, check it out if you get the opportunity. If it sounds like interesting to you, there might be something here for you to enjoy. So, thanks for watching. I will be back with more reviews and content on the channel very, very soon.